Okay, so this is the quick version of what I did for Jess. Now, I've had a look at yesterday for you, and this was the breakdown from your breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the carbs, the fat, and the protein. And this is what the total. So 120 grams of carbs in the day, 25 grams of fat, and 118 grams of protein. Now, the protein, that's pretty good. I think I read on the Sugar WOD app that it needed to be like 108. Try not to go under 100 grams of protein. Try and always stay over the 100, and a little bit more rather than less would be better. I'll come back to that. So yes, you mentioned when you messaged me that your calories might be a little bit low, and looking at this, we see that your goal is only oh, Natalie, that's like something maybe one of your children should be eating. 1,192 calories. I mean, that is super low, right? I mean, like super low. I would expect that to be the calorie consumption of an 80-year-old sedentary adult, meaning an 80-year-old who doesn't leave their armchair all day. For you, I mean, you're fairly active, right? You train quite a lot. What you'll probably find with that, now you might not, but what you'll probably find with that is it's just unsustainable. Okay, so like you might think that it's not unsustainable, and that like you might think you might think that you're able to do this day after day after day, but what generally happens with this sort of really low calorie intake is that people usually end up finding that they either can't do it over a long period of time. In fact, you wouldn't want to do it over a long period of time, it'd be unnecessary. Or they find that there's a random day that they just screw it up. So they might eat 1,200 calories Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday they blow it out of the water by eating like 3,000 calories each day. Now, you might not be doing that. I've certainly had a couple of times I've done very, very low calorie diets, and I kept the weight off for like 3 years. And it was fine. Really, the reason that I gained the weight again had nothing to do with my ability to consume X amount of calories. It was just because I stopped caring about what I was doing, and I was travelling a lot. I was travelling for 3 months. So it is doable, despite what people will say. It is doable, and you certainly already lost an awful lot of weight, so you might find that it is doable for you. So that's generally speaking the reason people don't want somebody to eat such low calories. There is another reason. The other reason is for health purposes. So I usually say to people, how do you feel? Like, what's your energy like? Are you sleeping well? What's your mood? Do you lose your temper easily? What's your hair like? What's your skin like? You know, do you look and feel healthy and like you've got enough energy? Do you train well? Do you find yourself getting tired when you're training, running out of energy? Now, because you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, certainly on this day anyway, because you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, and because you're eating a fairly adequate amount of protein, then you might just find that because your nutrient quality is high, that you don't experience any of those things. Now, the other thing that you mentioned to me was the fat content, which is that 25 grams of fat. That is low, yeah. So that's where I would get more calories from if you were so inclined to have them. You might find you could use a few more calories from carbs, but I'm not too fussed about that. The fat could do to be closer to double that, and could do to be from a couple of purposeful sources. So your fat on that day really just comes from a little bit from the milk and the yogurt, and then most just from your eggs and your chicken. So not great sources of fat. I mean, they're okay, you know, especially like the egg one's okay, right? Like they're not really sources of fat, they're incidental fat. You're just there's happens to be fat in those things. You ideally, you know, these are the optimal things. Ideally, you'd be looking at maybe some fat from extra virgin olive oil or from avocados, oily fish like salmon, or mackerel, sardines, these sort of things. Otherwise, you could take an omega-3 supplement. I mean, I'd always rather you eat pretty well. I mean, this is about as good. This is about as good as I see somebody giving me. There's nothing in there to take out. Absolutely not. And like normally, I'm like, like screwing my face up at people's like days. Now I know that you knew there was a fair chance I was going to look at this, so whether or not that's influenced you, I don't know. That's for you to know. Yeah, there's not. That's really good. I mean, it's excellent, really. Other than the fat. Now, the problem with the fat. So, why does it matter? It can matter for a number of reasons. Fats and proteins are the two essential nutrients. You can absolutely live without carbohydrate, but ultimately you cannot live without protein and fat. Now, fats will help keep your hormones regulated. So that's like all your hormones, not just like the sex hormones, but like the testosterone and the estrogen, but also the insulin, cortisol, your ability to recover from exercise. That's where, like, so if your fat's too low, that's where you'll start seeing things like in your hair and in your skin, your eyes, your teeth. You'll see things just not being quite the way they should be. Maybe joints feel a little stiff, maybe you feel a bit sluggish, a bit slow. And ideally you'd be getting your fat from healthy sources. So I think I mentioned extra virgin olive oil, I mentioned the oily fish there, avocados, avocado oil, and nuts. If you're eating nuts, keep them to like a real pinch, because nuts ramp up very, very quickly digestively and calorifically. So the other one that I can't see in the app, because MyFitnessPal only gives me access to so much of your data here, is how much fibre you're having. Now I would guess it's probably not too bad. Apples. Yeah, it's probably probably not too bad. The reason I'm going you've got the carrots there. Yeah. Nah, it's probably not too bad. But you could have a wee look at the breakdown of that. I don't get like the nutrient breakdown without going into each food individually, and like you've got a lot of things listed, so that would take me ages. So I'll have a wee look at your fibre content, see how that's going as well. It's probably fine though. That's probably about it just now. I think that's pretty good. What I'd be interested in is this sustainable with such low calories? Is your energy level good? Are you performing well when you're training? Are you needing to sleep excessively because you're not eating enough? I'll be looking at those things, and if those things all check out and they're all fine, dandy, crack on, see if you can keep doing it until you reach the weight that you want to be, and then then it becomes maintenance calories. Then we've got to decide how many calories you need to eat in a day in order to stay at the same weight. So it depends how quickly you're losing weight. At 1200 calories a day, I'd expect you to be losing weight at about 1 kilo a week, eating that few calories. So say you lose, I don't know what you want to lose, but say you lost 2 kilos and then you were happy there, then we'd need to look at how many calories to stay there, which is probably going to be round a bit. Honestly, Natalie, it really should be closer to 2000 calories for you to stay the same weight. But that can again vary from person to person, especially if, for example, somebody's on birth control. That fucks with your hormones, so that can affect the calorie requirements. But that's another conversation maybe for another day. So that's where we're at. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Very, very good choices of food. Lots of variety in there for that day. Protein's not bad. Fat's a bit low. Calories are a bit low. Maybe not. Yeah. Ask me your questions.